Something I find very interesting is the certain amount of time something can be done before it becomes repetitive. How many times can you hear a joke or watch a movie before it all becomes stale? The same thing I think can be done for music. I've actually sat back and I've heard a lot of songs played on the radio where the first few times I think genius, awesome, groundbreaking, inventive. Then after a while, it just becomes like everything else out there. Now, a lot of this can actually be blamed on the artist itself. They don't want to become actually cast aside in old news, so they try to capture lightning in a bottle multiple times. And that's just not how it happens. Basically, they're just going to find something that works and then stick with that. And today's band, honestly, can really be blamed for exactly that. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Green Day. Normally I would explain the band's history here and tell you how they formed. However, after 22 years and 65 million records sold worldwide, if you don't know who they are by now, then go back under your rock. Now, even though I have a huge problem with this band, I am still a huge fan. And to sit back and explain this band the way I usually would be kind of boring, seeing as they have so much different styles over the years and everything has changed. So that's why this episode is going to be a little bit different. Instead of me going on like I usually do and commenting, I'm just going to go ahead and show you each album as the years went on and kind of explain how the band has progressed each of those times. You'll see the point that I'm making when I get to it. In 1990, 39 Smooth was released. This was the album that started it all. It was everything punk rock had been and proved enough to start off legends of a long career. I can't really say anything bad about this album, but it isn't the best thing. It is definitely at the end of the list of the stuff they have produced. In 1992, Kerplunk was released. This is where the band started to make the move out of gyms and kegger parties and make it to the underground scene. Again, the sound is just a punk album with the angst that everything Green Day was known for at the time. The only compliment this album gets to me is that it actually has some memorable tracks, from Welcome to Paradise to Who Wrote Holden Caulfield. They even managed to get Pete Townsend to come and help the cover My Generation. Yeah, it's not really all that great of a cover, but still, it's pretty interesting that they got a legend like Pete Townsend to do that. 1994. This saw the release of Dookie. Now, I honestly don't know who doesn't at least know of this album if you didn't actually own it. This is one of the greatest albums, and I've actually sat back and could say I listened to it front to back. This is the album that turned everyone onto the band and put the band in the limelight. And around this time, the grunge movement was still in effect, so it made sense for the guys to get followers with the F the world attitude that the album and the band was letting out at this point. Okay guys, here's where I have to start making a point. This is where we're going to start noticing stuff. Now, like I said before, all the previous stuff about punk rock is all obvious in the other albums, including Dookie. This is the album we start talking about. Meaning, basically, because of the fact that this is the album that hit mainstream success, we really start noticing it by this point. So, after here, we're going to cut it off. If you look at it from here, the band is just party crazy punk rockers. In 1995, the band released Insomniac. Dear God, what a depressing album. Now, there was actually a joke that said this album came out with a thing of Zoloft for every record sold. To be completely honest, I really don't think that's a joke. I legitimately and honest to God think that actually happened. Take all the teenage angst of growing up from the first two albums, blend it with Dookie to get that extremely emotional album. This thing is just insane. Honestly, I really would be worried if anyone listened to this one front to back. Not saying it's a bad album, I'm just saying don't sit back and hear the whole thing front to back because, well, the suicide hotline might be needed. 1997 saw the release of Nimrod. This is what I imagine someone who is constantly depressed would call a good day. It's not as dark as Insomniac, but it's not positive. It's an album people would listen to for the singles only, seeing as it has enough of the woe is me experience without the pure feeling of overwhelmed by it. All in all, it is a good album. The new millennium saw the release of Warning in the year 2000. This started to get out of the I am a teenage and sad mindset and moved into the I'm a young adult and sad mindset. It's mostly known for being when the band faded away for a bit. Nothing too big was in this album other than the small bits of pretending to care about social issues and things. It's really just filler. The teen angst and anger is gone and the preachy side is not yet out. I say skip it and look up a few videos that came from it. Next album. In 2004, American Idiot was released. This album proved to be why the band has been around for so long. I might sound like I'm really hammering this band, but I do love these albums, some more than others. And this one in particular proves why. Modern music fans have never heard rock albums like this before, and it was a refreshing thing to have. The mood for it was definitely that of a we can't take what's going on in the world anymore attitude that old school punk had. It was definitely political and shows that the boys who we knew from California were now men on a mission. In 2009, 21st Century Breakdown came out. This is where things get a little bit repetitive. Again, a story-driven album and proving that the band was still fighting for what they believed in for politics and world issues. Okay, here's where I want to bring up something that I've talked about already. Look at the themes of these albums so far. The first three albums, Screw the World and My Parents. The next three, I Hate Myself. Do you see the pattern going here? So the last two are very political based and getting to the point that you start to wonder if they actually really paying attention to the media or just pretending so they can throw an angry song at it. After this many years, you start to notice them and can almost predict what's next. And to be honest, I almost start thinking it wouldn't be a bad idea to just skip the album. The only thing that stops me is how entertaining the albums are. The songs are never bad, and I actually don't hate any of them. I just would prefer some over others. Now, I might sound like I am really nitpicking here and saying that this band really just shouldn't be doing this over and over again. I really can't blame them for doing it. I mean, you never really know what's going to work for music, but that's the point. That's exactly the point. You should always try to be daring with your music. You should always try to never copy old people. If you copy old styles over and over again, you're just going to basically be stuck in a rut. Try something. You never know what a fan will like. That's what can make very interesting music. And with that, I await the 9th studio album. Will it be a big middle finger in the face of a political figure that only they can see? Will it be a screw the world and its issues kind of album? Or just maybe it will be something new and inventive? Seriously, it could be brand new. It could be something we'd never heard of as music fans. This could be something that mainstream has never known and just proves why Green Day is the band that they are.